Well, that didn't take long. Look at this. Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum just announced that after a long and fruitful conversation with President Trump, the United States has agreed to pause for 1 month the implementation of Trump's tariffs on goods from her country. In exchange, Mexico will immediately reinforce its northern border with 10,000 National Guard soldiers for the express purpose of stopping all drug trafficking from Mexico into the United States, particularly fentanyl. And unfortunately for the aroused Chuck Schumer, it hasn't even been 24 hours since he made yet again a fool of himself with this.
Let's just take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac, because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
That was almost as pathetic as when he was caught taking that photo up, putting cheese on a raw burger. Now think about how vile this man is. Trump was hammering Mexico with a 25% tariff for what? For what reason? So he could start a trade war? No, he hammered them with tariffs so they'll do their part in stopping all the fentanyl coming into our nation and killing our kids. That's why Trump did it. And instead of standing up right along with Trump in demanding that Mexico take the military measures necessary to stop that drug flow, what does upchuck scumbag Schumer do? But he stands there with a Corona beer and a freaking avocado looking even more of a jackass than he normally does. He is such vile scum. Trump isn't launching a trade. This isn't economics. He's using tariffs as a political weapon, as leverage to stop the flow of drugs at the southern border, and it worked. It worked. One order from the Mexican president's desk, a single executive order from her desk, and boom, 10,000 troops are stationed at the border to stop all drugs from crossing into the United States, automatically saving hundreds of thousands of lives. Why was that so hard? Why was that so hard? Well, you know the answer. The answer is simple. It's because the corrupt bureaucrats in Mexico City make lots of money from drug smuggling. Drug dealers have long used remittances to wire U.S. drug profits back into Mexico. These are wire transfers that are usually used by the millions upon millions of illegal migrants to send money back home, right? Mexico profits off of illegal migration. And drug dealers use these wire transfers as an undetected way to send hundreds of millions of dollars a year back into Mexico. And they, in turn, bribe their politicians with that money. Look, the reason why Mexican officials have refused to close the border is simple. It's because that open border was a giant piggy bank for them. Just like for our corporate CEOs who love cheap labor and who write up Chuck Schumer his campaign checks. Well, of course, those days are now, thankfully, officially over.
Can you assess your work so far?
Well, look, I looked at the numbers this morning, Maria. The crossings on the border are down 93%. 93%.
Wow.
That's a bigger decrease than under the first Trump administration. So, look, I said it. President Trump is a game changer. No one has had the success he's had on securing the border. He clearly understands we can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. And we have achieved a success on the border already. We got more work to do. And on top of that, as far as the deportation operation, we're just shy of, I think we got 5,000 already arrested the first week, and majority of them being criminals. The non-criminals, and the media's talking about, who are these non-criminals? The non-criminals are arrested in sanctuary cities because you force us into the community rather than arresting the bad guy in the jail. And when we find that criminal, he's most likely with others, and they're going to go too. So if you want to be a sanctuary city, you're going to get exactly what you don't want. More agents in the community and more non-criminals arrested.
That's Border Czar Tom Homan announcing a 93% decrease in illegal border crossing attempts, just attempts. 93% decrease. As he said, we've never seen anything like this before. It's all part of the new golden age that officially began on January the 20th. Speaking of, I want to personally invite you to an incredible live event that you won't want to miss, the America's Golden Age Summit. Mark your calendars for February 27th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's all online. We're going to explore how America is entering a new golden age filled with opportunities to thrive like never before. Now, during this powerful 90-minute event, my special guests and I will reveal some secrets for how you and your family can prosper like never before in this exciting new era. From financial strategies to building a legacy rooted in freedom and faith, this summit is designed to help you succeed. Spaces are limited, so don't wait. Register now and secure your spot today. Can't wait to see you there. So the key here, as you heard from Tom Homan, is that the border is now closed. And the Mexican president simply had no incentive whatsoever to keep governing the way Mexico has all these years, because that open borders piggy bank is gone. It's been shattered. She had no incentive in refusing to take proactive measures to guard the border on their side of it. And so when President Trump woke her up to this new reality by slapping a 25% tariff on all Mexican goods coming to the United States, he made it clear this isn't a trade war. This is the United States using its political leverage as a force multiplier to get Mexico to take the military measures needed to get their drug lords under control. There was absolutely no point whatsoever in Sheinbaum trying to fight this, because she can't. She has literally no political or economic leverage over Trump at all. Zippo. So she caved. She caved literally within hours of the announcement of the tariffs. And it's not just Mexico. Did you hear about this? In a stunning turn of events, the government of Panama has just agreed to end all contracts with China at the Panama Canal. This is huge. They're officially exiting China's Belt and Road Initiative, ending CCP influence in the region. At the same time, U.S. Navy ships are being given free passage through the canal. The announcement comes on the heels of Secretary of State Marco Rubio's official state visit to Panama, where he reportedly warned the Panamanian president in no uncertain terms to end every and all contracts with China and put on immediate stop to Chinese influence and presence at the canal, or we will. And of course, again, since politics is all about power and leverage, I mean, the president of Panama recognized he literally had no choice. He was being made an offer he could not refuse. And this came on the heels of the freeing this weekend, the freeing of 6 American hostages who were being held in Venezuela. All it took was one visit to Caracas from Rick Grinnell, and he returned with all 6 of them. And days before that, of course, you had the idiot Marxist Colombian president Gustavo Petro, completely caved to Trump's demands to take back his own citizens after originally refusing to allow 2 U.S. planes filled with Colombian illegals to land in his country. Again, Trump threatened massive retaliatory tariff measures that would go up exponentially every week automatically, that would ultimately cripple the Colombian economy. And literally just an hour after Trump made that announcement, this guy, Gustavo Petro, just completely caved and took in all their own citizens who were in our nation illegally. In fact, he's just sent out a message. He is welcoming all Colombians in America to come back to their home origin. So what are we learning from all this? Well, we're learning about the undeniable power of the tariff as a forcing mechanism to get nations to comply with our demands. And this is absolutely fascinating because historically, tariffs always had 2 functions. Tariffs raised revenue for the government, and tariffs protected certain industries, certain American industries. So it raised revenue and it protected industries. This goes all the way back to President Washington, right? Washington used tariffs to raise revenue for the government, protect American industry, particularly from British competing British industries. In fact, remember, tariffs were really the primary way our government was funded for the first decades. Tariffs, first century or so. Tariffs and selling land, I should add, which became the primary means of revenue during the 19th century's westward expansion. But we actually needed a constitutional amendment, the 16th Amendment, in the early 20th century for the government to be able to institute an income tax. Originally, our Constitution barred the government from taxing American citizens directly. How would you like to go back to those days, huh? Well, by the way, as an aside, that's exactly what President Trump is suggesting. He's floating the notion of going back to the time when the federal government made its money primarily on tariffing other countries' exports into the United States and eliminating the IRS altogether and income taxes completely. But that's how our government functioned until 1913 with the passage of the 16th Amendment and the creation of the Fed. Tariffs always have been the lifeblood of federal revenue. And now we're seeing a whole different use of tariffs that we've not seen before. Trump is going beyond raising revenue and protecting American industry. He's still doing that. But now he's got a third prong, as it were. He's using tariffs as a political leverage to force countries to comply with his American First agenda. He did that with the Colombian president, obviously humiliating him on the international stage by showing to the world just how devoid of any political leverage Colombia has. He did it just now with Panama. He's doing it with Mexico. Only Canada seems to be dumbling down on stupid right now, but given that they still have Trudeau in office, I'm not surprised. Only Ottawa is doing, again, as President Trump has repeatedly pointed out, not only have Canadian officials refused to take the necessary measures to close the border on their end, their side of the northern border, which is just as porous as the southern border, by the way, in some ways even worse. But they've been taking advantage of the United States to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Canada underfunds its military. The Canadian military budget is only half of what it ought to be, taking advantage of the proximity of the United States military. It sells cheap Chinese steel as its own, basically a counterfeit. Canada imposes all kinds of regulatory obstacles, impeding total free and fair trade. Again, all of that is fine. Canada should benefit Canadians for sure. But Trump isn't playing that game anymore in terms of America just allowing that to be. So tariffs are now officially a very effective form of political leverage. Again, it's got nothing to do with the classical tariff war. It now has to do with getting nations to comply with Trump's international and domestic policies. And why is that so important? What is the big takeaway from all of this? Well, the huge takeaway from all of this is that it means that globalism is effectively dead. Globalism, we have to remember, is comprised of the post-1945 Bretton Woods financial system. That's the financial system comprised of institutions like the WTO, the World Bank, the IMF, which all push multilateral trade policies that basically ban tariffs. Japan has always lived in significant tension within these free trade policies. Japan has always been very protectionist, very restrictive in terms of what foreign goods are allowed into their markets. But regardless, under both Republican and Democrat administrations, the United States has portrayed itself as the free trade center of the world, the mecca of free trade. And as such, we were taken advantage of left and right by all kinds of nations. And as it turned out, we ended up taking one of the most effective international negotiation tools off the table, which of course are tariffs. And the fact that Trump has made tariffs the centerpiece of his international negotiations shows that he has completely abandoned the globalist protocols and the institutions thereof. So we are officially now in a post-globalist world, and it's not even been 2 full weeks into Trump's presidency.